following program is a presentation of Farsky Media. All content is property of Farsky Media and its affiliates. This program was recorded and produced at the Farsky Media Little Willow Studios.
I'm going to tell you stories about my life. There's always a hidden message in them, or what I have learned from them, and I just want to share my stories with you. So this is growing up and always going to my grandma's farm. My grandma's farm was the best. I was always around family. I always had people to play with because cousins were always there too. We had the best adventures. As soon as you woke up, sometimes we would spend the night there, sometimes we would drive there that day, but we were always at grandma's house. That's all my childhood memories, or the majority of them, are always about my grandma's farm. So as soon as you woke up, I don't remember ever being inside hardly. We were always told to go outside and play because there were so many of us. And we would go down in the woods, we would be in the barn, we made forts in old places, old buildings, and then we'd get in trouble and we'd had to take it back down to the dump. There was a dump below my grandma's farm, but every day was a new adventure. Did I know this at the time? I didn't. It was just us playing because we had to have an imagination. Kids these days don't know what they're missing. So you'd wake up, head outside. Someone would just take charge. We don't even know how we got to the new adventure for the day. We just started wandering. Or someone would be like, let's go do this today. So let's go walk in the woods. And we would never get lost. We would walk all day. We would be climbing trees. We would be playing in the creek. We would be finding fossils. We would just roam the woods. We found wild berries. We knew which ones to eat for some reason. I don't remember ever being taught, but you would just sit there and you would be outside the whole entire day. I don't remember ever asking if we could do things. I just know that we were allowed to be outside, as long as we didn't cause trouble in that. If you cause trouble, that's a whole nother story. But none of us wanted to get into trouble, so we would just stay outside and stay away and stay out of the hair of the adults so they could do their work during the day. And the older kids always took care of the younger kids. So one of the adventures, I remember that there was, I already mentioned the dump, and you didn't dig too much into that because it was a lot of garbage in that, but once in a while you would find what you thought was a treasure and everything else, and you'd pull it off to the side, but you weren't supposed to play in the dump. That was one rule that you were supposed to, so it wasn't too often that we even bothered with the dump. But that was further down into the woods, down below my grandma's house. But there was tons of apple trees, so in the fall, you could just eat apples. You would crawl up to the top. I don't remember ever having a struggle crawling up a tree, but you could just crawl up a tree. And that any old tree that you find, because sometimes you'd play hide and seek and you can't be seen, so you'd just shimmy up a tree in a matter of seconds. And I don't think kids today would even begin how to pull themselves up in a tree. But we'd use each other. We'd crawl on someone's back. We'd get high enough. You'd pull your next person up, and that you'd have a lot of people. You'd have like 5-6 people in one tree. But hide and seek was always the best too. Ghost in the graveyard at night, but hide and seek during the day. We were never bored. If you said you were bored, you would have work to do. So we never mentioned that word because we always found something to do. The old porch on my back porch on my grandma's house part of it was gone and there was the sand coming down, so that was our sandbox when we played there. There was old cook stove on the top. You'd play house there, the woodshed. We didn't go in the woodshed a lot because, again, that was like a working room area because you would have to have the wood in there to heat the old wood stoves But every now and then we were in the woodshed, but not for very long. There was an old outhouse, and we thought that was the coolest thing, that people would actually use that for a bathroom but there was just so much things to explore and watch and look and learn. When you played house, you took care of the family. When you played in the sand, everyone was included. Like I said, my cousins were always there. I always had playmates and people Did I know that they were all my cousins? Probably not until I got older and that, but there was always kids to play with. And it didn't matter the age, you just played. You just had fun with who was ever around. And the adults, again, I know they were there, but I don't really recall them being in our area, always looking over us. They had work to do on the farm. And we knew from a very young age which areas we were allowed to go into and which areas we weren't. Like we could go in the haymow and we could play, but if they were working that day in the haymow, we were not allowed to be there. And we just knew that we did not have to be told anything significant about going here or there. The animals on my grandma's farm, I remember there was pigs and chickens and geese and cows, always horses. All my uncles, my dad, everyone had horses, but you respected every animal on the farm. None of them were cruelly used or abused. Even if they acted up and that, they were part of the family as well in a sense, because that was the money coming in. I know there was pigs at the farm, but us kids were not allowed to go there. I think we were told once, and that was a rule then. The chickens, we didn't chase the chickens because they laid the eggs. If we were lucky enough to be asked to go find eggs that day, because they could be anywhere on the farm, and that it was a big grand adventure trying to find eggs. And boy, you took care of those eggs too. You did not break them and that, because if you brought a broken one back and that was almost like you broke a family rule. You took care of everything. I did not realize we didn't have money when I was young. Look back now, you would consider us poor. I did not realize this growing up. I always had what I needed. I had food, I had shelter, I had love, and it was a different kind of love, because I wouldn't say that I was really coddled and hugged, but I knew that I was protected every step of the way. Was I disciplined? Absolutely. We had a leather strap at our house, and sometimes that would go missing. Usually my brothers would hide it more than anyone in that, but sometimes the leather strap would go missing. And then, our detective skills were top-notch then, because, we would gradually lift up a pillow. Nope, not there. We would take the longest time to try to find the strap, because we knew that someone was going to get disciplined when it was found. And Dad knew that we misplaced it. That's using the word lightly. I know he knew, but he just made us find it. And then when we did, yes, he would carry through with the discipline. He didn't ask where it was. He never asked how it got there. He knew that it was misplaced by us kids, but we were only told once. If they said don't do that and you chose to do that and you had to get disciplined, and we weren't beaten, I wouldn't consider us abused or beaten. The most we ever got spanked was 3 times in a row. I wouldn't say that usually it was once. It was one and done. If you were dumb enough to try something again, the same thing and that, what did you expect? I loved my childhood. I loved being around my family. I miss those days. I tried to give my own children days like that, and it's just not the same. My grandma does not have her farm anymore. My grandma's not even around anymore. But my children got to know their great-grandmother. We invited her to our house before she got really sick with dementia. She would come and stay with us for days, for a week at a time, as much as I could possibly do with my children. So they knew their great-grandma. We learned how to bake pies from her. I would always have chocolate by the chair that she would sit at. I would try to pamper her because I always felt so special when I was at her house. Even though she didn't treat us differently, but she gave me such a wonderful childhood. I wanted to give her some love and peace towards the end of her days. And I wanted my children to know her. I miss her deeply. I wish I had more time with her. And you don't know what you have until it is gone. But thank goodness I had my grandma. She raised so many of us. All of us have stories about her farm, about her house, about her cooking, You say mush, and we all know that was a pudding thing. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but it was some pudding she made for us for breakfast. And all of us kids called it mush. And there was so many of us, but she took care of every single one of us. Every single time we were there. Everyone should have a grandma like that. Everyone should have family members like that. That you just know when you're in their presence, you are loved. Even though I don't remember her ever saying I love you, I just knew I was safe at her place. We were going to have things provided for us. When it was time to eat, you ate. You helped clean up when you can when you were older. The younger kids never had to, but you just did what you had to do. You learned. The younger ones learned from the older grandkids. Grandma said, do this. You didn't talk back at all. You just never did that. I miss my grandma. I miss the adventures. I miss the freedom, the joy of just playing. I miss my cousins sometimes. I haven't seen many of them. Everyone should have a childhood that they look back on and just smile. And that's what I have. Thanks to my grandma. Did I know that she was going to pass away eventually? Not until later in life. I always knew my grandma would be there. But when she started getting sick, I wanted to give her that security that she gave me. I wanted to give her the peace that she gave me. I wanted my kids to know my grandma. I hold those pictures dear to my heart, and I wish I just had more time with her. Get to know your grandparents. Get to know the older people in your lives. Listen to their stories and learn from them. It's beautiful what they have to offer, and you will never get it back. Thank you for listening.
This has been a Farsky Media presentation. All content is property of Farsky Media and its affiliates. Visit us at farskymedia.com for more information and programs. Thanks for joining us today. This program was recorded and produced at the Farsky Media Little Willow Studios.